Harvard researchers found that chronic stress leads to increased cravings and fat gain, even in people who don't eat more overall, right? So if you're constantly in a high chronic stress atmosphere or environment, it's going to lead to more cravings. You're going to crave more salty foods. You're going to crave more sugary, high calorie foods. And that's where people get in trouble. Hi, my name is Moe Ghias. Essentially, I'm a kid who's obsessed with winning. Hello. Welcome to Healthy Systems Podcast. I know I skipped a week because last weekend I was in Chicago just traveling with my wife. And we ended up meeting a lot of my clients that, are in Chicago. And guess what? They all have desk jobs. So today's topic is around something that came up during, hanging out with some of my clients. So today's topic is very, very simple, and I know it'll actually make a lot of sense to all of you and actually be relatable. So today's healthy system is about why your job might be making you fat and what to do about it. And we'll talk about the 9-to-5 life and how it impacts on your hormones, hunger, and health. So I know a lot of you, all of you work hard, you're smart, you show up on Zoom calls or team meetings, you crush deadlines, you keep your life together. But when it comes to your weight, it feels like nothing works. Right. And this episode is for those men and women who are in corporate America who feel stuck in their health and fitness journey and wonder, man, is it me or is my lifestyle actually working against me? So the good news is it's not you. Right. So let's talk about how your job might be secretly making you gain weight and what you can actually do about it. Number one, I'll break it down into a few different areas. Right. And then I'll give you how it impacts different hormonal things inside the body. So the very first one is, what happens when you sit all day, when you have an 8 to 10 hour workday, when you're seated on your desk, sitting all day equals insulin resistance. So let me explain what that means. When you have to think about muscle and metabolism, right? So muscle is your metabolism's best friend. And every hour that you sit, your metabolism slows down. And most corporate, boys and girls, friends of mine, people, we sit for 8 to 10 hours a day. And what that does is, your muscles are not being used because you're just sitting, right? So the muscles are not being used, so they don't need energy. So they don't pull sugar, glucose from your blood. So the food that you're eating, your body digests it and it outputs the glucose that goes into your bloodstream. Then insulin takes that glucose and shuttles it to the proper muscles around the body. Well, those muscles are not being used. So then guess what happens? It just sits in the bloodstream. And then over time also, your cells stop responding as well to insulin, right? So that's called insulin resistance. And as a result, your body stores more fat, especially around your belly, and fat loss becomes harder even if you're eating healthy. So sitting all day equals insulin resistance. If that's all you remember from this podcast episode, remember that. Sitting all day on your desk equals insulin resistance. So that's why I'm a big fan of having a treadmill desk, or even like you can do this every hour or 2 hours, or even like just start off with just once a day. Go for a walk outside, right? Change it up. It will be good for your mental health, but also get your body in a movement phase. And if you want to be a rock star, maybe you have a little home gym set up in your office. You pick up some kettlebells, some dumbbells, do some, kettlebell swings, do some, curls, do some pull-ups. That gets your body moving too, because our ancestors used to do that. Our ancestors were farmers. So those people they would be working in one place, right? Maybe cutting the crop, and then they would have to go lift, a bush, like a big bag of hay. So it's just like our bodies are meant to be like going from one place to another, versus when we're sitting in our corporate job, just typing it up on the computer keyboard, your body's like, yo, what you doing? And now we're seeing the ramifications of that on the rise of insulin resistance and the cortisol spikes and all these other problems that are coming up. So sitting all day equals insulin resistance. Second thing that happens is when you're in corporate, you have deadlines, right? You're under stress. Stress plus deadlines equals cortisol spikes. And that's the whole point. They want you to get things done. Otherwise, us humans, we procrastinate, right? So it's deliberate, but cortisol is the hormone that helps you survive. But it's also the one that stores fat when it's chronically elevated. So if it's forever on, like you're just constantly in an elevated state of stress every day due to work, your cortisol levels will be high. And we've seen this firsthand too with clients, right? Clients that have very stressful careers, even if they're doing 80% of the right things, they have a very tough time, losing weight, because that stuff starts to matter, right? And then what happens is, if you can handle the stress as a human being, is great. But there comes a threshold when you can't, and that's when your body makes you binge eat, makes you really like go off the rails. So if you're stressed at work with emails, deadlines, back-to-back calls, that stress, it tells your body, hey, 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 hold on to this fat, store the energy. We are in danger because I'm just facing too much stress. There might not be enough food tomorrow. So cortisol naturally increases your appetite, especially for salty, sugary, high calorie foods. So things like cookies, right? Instant. Nature didn't have cookies for our ancestors, but cookies are actually, that's why they trick our brain, because they look like they're such fast source of energy and they can easily be eaten, that your body's like, holy shit, this is so good. Let's eat all of them, right? Because your body doesn't know any better. It doesn't know that they're processed and chemically processed, as well as chips, cookies and chips, right? Disaster. But our body doesn't know that. So our body's like, yo, give it to me. This is like so easy and so quick. Like I don't have to go hunt an animal to get my calories. I can just eat this, right? So cortisol increases the appetite, especially for salty, sugary, high calorie foods, but it also increases belly fat, right? When you have more belly fat due to how it interacts with insulin and fat receptors. So there's a whole biochemistry behind it, but I'll just keep it simple, right? Harvard researchers found that chronic stress leads to increased cravings and fat gain, even in people who don't eat more overall, right? So if you're constantly in a high chronic stress atmosphere or environment, it's going to lead to more cravings. You're going to crave more salty foods. You're going to crave more sugary, high calorie foods. And that's where people get in trouble. And then I think number 3 is what I like to call mindless eating. So when you're sitting at your desk and you're eating at your desk, what happens is you wouldn't remember a time. You like, think of it like when you're eating and working, you're half paying attention, right? So what happens is if you're in a meeting and you're half paying attention, right? Like it doesn't work. Same thing with our meals. When we're working on our desk and we're eating at our desk, we're paying half attention to each. So then what happens is when we eat in a distracted state of mind, while checking Slack, emails, Netflix, catching up on trainings, you override your body's satiety cues. And then it ends up eating 20 to 30% more calories without realizing. Does that make sense? So there's a thing called mindful eating, and there's a thing called mindless overeating, right? When you're just overeating, you've just forgotten how many calories you consume. You haven't forgotten what foods you had, right? That's why my clients often joke that Mo never skips a day of tracking food. Because yeah, like I've been tracking food on and off for 10 years. And mind you, I've had my ideal body for a long time now. But the point being, even for the last 400 plus days, I still haven't missed a day of tracking my food. Even on days I'm traveling, even on days I don't do the best, even on days that I go off the plan. But I still track. Like yesterday, for example, there was a fireworks here. And we went and we kind of like camped out and we, had some little barbecue there and we were eating, dessert. I still came home and tracked. And I realized that the whole time I was like, man, I'm going to go over my calories. Like it's going to be a lot. Today I came home and I tracked it. I was like still 300 calories less than I was anticipating. So it's like tracking is a very good habit, but when you're eating at your desk, it often leads to mindless overeating. So when you eat distracted, checking Slack, all of that, your body's satiety cues go off. So then you're eating 20 to 30% more calories than you're realizing. And there's a study that came out of University of Bristol, which said people who ate meals while distracted by work or screens ate more later in the day, even if they weren't hungry. Isn't that crazy? So there's I grew up in Pakistan. So like we as a family would sit together, we would eat lunch together. It was very active, mindful activity. Everybody sat together. It was time for lunch. It was time for dinner. Versus if we're eating, like you probably feel this when you're driving, when you're on a long road trip, you constantly just stop at a gas station and grab some snack and then you're going and then you stop the next place, grab some Taco Bell. You just end up eating more. You end up eating more because you're not thinking. You're half driving, half eating, right? So these are things to be careful with, right? And I'm just bringing it all together, which is like another thing that happens is my corporate friends often skip meals. I hear this all the time. Last year alone, I think my team told me I did around 900 consultations. And that doesn't take into account the consultations my team did. But what happens is when I talk to corporate employees, clients of ours, non-client of ours, people that just want to get information, when I talk to them, one of the first things they say is like, yeah, I usually skip my breakfast. I usually don't eat anything for lunch, right? And I'm like, then how the hell are you 60 pounds overweight, right? Because what happens is When you skip meals, you're more likely to binge eat at night. And I'll prove this with research because when you restrict all day, you binge at night, you repeat that cycle. That's the cycle that most men and women get stuck into because I know you're busy. So you skip breakfast, you grab a coffee, maybe a protein bar for a lunch, but by 8 p.m., you're starving and your body needs fast energy. And that ends up usually being junk food. So then this creates a binge guilt restrict cycle is what we call, right? So it damages your metabolism and your relationship with food. Cleveland Clinic did a really good study on this where they found that people who skip meals tend to have higher insulin levels, slower fat loss, and worse blood sugar control. So yeah, don't be skipping meals, especially healthy meals. And then the last one, I'll just summarize it and how your corporate job might be making you fat is a lot of you, like majority of you, have no plan. Your only plan is you're going to cut the carbs and eat salads. If that's your weight loss plan, you're literally setting yourself up for failure. Because think about it. You're in corporate America. Half of you are project managers and product managers and software developers and engineers and all of that, right? You wouldn't wing a client presentation, right? So then why are you winging your health? Most men and women don't have a system. They don't have a plan when it comes to their fitness journey. They literally start a diet and then stop a diet. They start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. They follow trend on TikTok and they rely on motivation, right? So what happens a lot of the time is you're just stuck in a rut. It's like, what are you doing? And eventually you just give up and you're like, yeah, I've tried it all. Nothing works for me. But it's like, no, you didn't try it all. You tried all the stupid little trends on TikTok. If that's your weight loss plan, then you are literally setting yourself up for failure. So just remember, the body doesn't respond to motivation. It responds to strategy and consistency. And consistency comes from accountability. How do you stay consistent? Well, you need somebody to keep you accountable. No matter how disciplined you are, if you don't have somebody checking in on you, keeping you accountable, you're not going to go as far, right? So just last remarks on this. You don't need to quit your job or live at the gym. You just need a plan that actually works with your lifestyle, not against it. And this is why we do what we do for our clients, right? So a lot of our clients are super busy. They have kids. We build them workouts that take 25 minutes and they can do them at home. They don't even need to go to the gym. We also do meals that fit their culture. So like if you're Hispanic or if you're Muslim, if you're Egyptian, you're Indian, you're Pakistani, a lot of our clients are from all over the world, right? So we literally make them meal plans that fit their culture, have foods from their culture. So it ends up being no starving. So you end up like really keeping your blood glucose level stable, sane, and not really setting yourself up for fat gain. And then the biggest one being systems that remove guesswork. Right? Like a lot of you, they're like, yeah, I'm going to quit rice. That's my weight loss plan. I'm just going to quit eating rice. That's all. You know what I mean? I'm going to stop eating rice. I'm going to start eating salads. I'm like, you've been saying that for 9 years. You start that, you do it for 1 day, maybe 7 days max, and then you quit because it's an unsustainable plan, right? Our clients are eating rice and still losing weight because it can be done. So at the end of the day, what you are currently lacking is a strategy. You think you can do this on your own, but you can't. You've been trying, and insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, getting nowhere. So that's why obviously Training with the Titans exists. That's why we have a coaching program. If you want more info on that, our coaching program, we have a full website that explains everything. Just go to twtt.us, twtt.us. You'll literally see all of it. Or just go on Google and just type my name, Coach Moe Ghias, or just Moe Ghias, and you'll see all the info there. But yeah, and if you want to just connect personally, I'm always available on Instagram, Facebook. You can just message us there at Moe Ghias, MoeGhias. I used to be in corporate America. I did my 3 years before getting into fitness coaching full time, and it's been 6 years of just working full time in my own business. And now we have a team. But I think the biggest thing being is, the thing I'm most proud of is we've helped over 2,000 clients, go from fat to fit. And we can do the same for you without having to spend hours at the gym. What we are big fans of is sustainability, eating the foods you like, but making it work in a way so then you can still lose a good amount of fat without being miserable. So if that vibes with you, if that's something you want, hit me up. Just, at Moe Ghias, MoeGhias on Instagram or Facebook. And then just tell me like, hey, I listened to your Healthy Systems podcast. We'll love some information on coaching, and then we'll guide you step by step. We're also doing a 10% off right now because of my wedding. I recently got married, and I was like, you know what? So many of you wished me happy wedding that I was like, you know what? Whoever joins and knows about the wedding, will give them 10% discount. So if you want that, just hit me up and then we'll take care of you. But overall, don't go around quitting your corporate job. Don't go around blaming your corporate job. But you need these strategies to make you, stay fit. Otherwise, you're headed down a path of obesity. I'm telling you, I've seen far too often people that had a really like active college career, after college got into corporate life, started working from home, and boom. And next time I see them a year later, 2 years later, they put on 40 pounds of fat. It is so common. It's more common than you're actually picturing it right now. So hope this helps, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Systems podcast. I really appreciate you for tuning in today. Now, here are 2 ways I can help you for free. One, you can join our free Facebook community by just going to this link, bit.ly/Titan Facebook group. Just type that into your browser and then answer 2 questions, and then we'll let you into our Facebook community where you'll meet other people, as well as we have a lot of free resources in terms of meal plans, workouts, all kinds of stuff in there. Second way I can help you for free is if you follow me on Instagram at Moe Ghias, MOE, G as in George, H as in horse, I as in India, A as in apple, S as in Sam. Follow me there and then shoot me a message with the word Healthy Systems, and then I'll be sure to send you a free gift. Other than that, keep listening in, and I really appreciate you.